Our journey begins on the City of New Orleans train from Memphis to New Orleans. We woke up at 5 to get to the train station by 6. My sister and I spent the ride in the observation car, playing drawing games, chatting, and watching the world slowly pass us by. Our background noise was a cacophony of soothing rails and the periodic wail of the train horn. We arrived in New Orleans around 4 p.m. and got a ride to our hostel in Marigny. We stayed at Madame Isabel's house, a charming eclectic place filled with colorful decorations, Mardi Gras beads, friendly neighborhood cats, and the soft hum of live music drifting through the halls. We changed into shorts and headed out for an early dinner at Curio Bistro, a cozy little spot on Bienville with delicious drinks, kind servers, and the most mouth-watering Brussels sprouts.
A free drink because they accidentally made an extra one.
After dinner, we went down to Bourbon Street to meet my sister's college friend for drinks and karaoke at the Cat's Meow, where I performed an awful rendition of Party in the USA that no one will ever see.
Sang Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus. So
we headed back to the hostel for a cat nap. While my sister rested, I made friends with the other residents. They were some of the most eccentric, fascinating people I'd ever met. Samantha, a hoodoo practitioner from Memphis, taught me about orishas and the diverse spiritual traditions of Africa. Marco, a musician from Philly, was visiting with his bandmates to busk on Bourbon and Canal. I met young women from France studying Creole culture, a traveler from Quebec, musicians from across the country, and solo travelers from South Africa, Morocco, Mexico, and beyond. The next morning, we stopped by Loretta's for beignets. A local had recommended it over Café du Monde. We arrived right when they opened and sat beside a gorgeous antique sewing machine that seemed to have belonged to their founder. The beignets were incredible. We made our way into the French Quarter to visit St. Louis Cathedral. We wandered into bookstores. Faulkner House Books, where William Faulkner wrote Soldier's Play, and Dauphine Street Books, a chaotic, magical secondhand shop overflowing with towering stacks of books. Some were centuries old, others were signed. It felt like stepping into a world out of Alice in Wonderland. We made our way back to Marigny and stopped at Buffa's Bar. Later, we wandered down Royal, Antique Gallery, the Brass Monkey, Fisher Gambino, Trashy Diva, the Quarter Stitch, Great Artist Collectives, antique stores, and many more. We stopped at the Old Absinthe House to try absinthe for the first time. We definitely weren't fans, though the drink was a beautiful shade of chartreuse. That night, we ended up on Frenchman Street, drawn into a live performance outside of Willie's Chicken Shack. We danced, then wandered through the Frenchman Street Night Bazaar, filled with local art, jewelry, and handmade goods. Next door was the Spotted Cat Music Club, which quickly became our favorite spot. Intimate, electric, full of extraordinary live jazz, and a warm, welcoming atmosphere. The next morning, we had brunch at the Elysian Bar in the St. Peter and Paul Hotel. The space felt like a blend of Paris and New Orleans. Afterwards, we wandered the quarter before meeting my son's friend Ray for lunch at Napoleon House. After lunch, Ray took us to the New Orleans Pharmacy Museum, the site of the first licensed pharmacist in the United States. The museum, rumored to be haunted, offered a fascinating, and sometimes unsettling, look into early medicine, highlighting how modern medicine is deeply intertwined with midwifery, hoodoo, and African healing traditions.
they were chasing a little boy.
Later, we visited the New Orleans Museum of Art. My favorite piece from the museum was A Roman Holiday by Frank Markham Skipworth. I also loved Mary and Child in the Conservatory by one of my favorite female American artists, Mary Cassatt, and the pearl detailing on John Singer Sargent's portrait of Mrs. Asher B. Wertheimer. We walked through the Sydney and Walda Bestoff Sculpture Garden, where my sister marveled at works by artists like Louise Bourgeois, one of her favorite sculptors. One piece in particular, Window with Ladder, Too Late for Help, by Leandro Ehrlich, stood out. Partially veiled by Spanish moss, it felt like it was blending nature and illusion. Back at the hostel, I spent hours on the porch with Binky, the owner's cat, rereading Dracula. That evening, we had a reservation at Irene's, my birthday dinner, a gift from my dad. It had been my grandmother's favorite restaurant, so returning there felt deeply meaningful. We sat in the piano room, surrounded by candlelight and soft jazz. Afterwards, we stopped for ice cream, then visited the New Orleans Vampire Bar, where I tried a novelty blood bag. It was fine, but I later learned that the bar had issues with unpaid wages, so next time I won't be returning. The next day, we visited the Audubon Aquarium and Insectarium. The Insectarium was now a part of the aquarium rather than its own building, which we had visited when we were kids. While it didn't feel as expansive as I remembered, the butterfly room still held the same magic. We spent the rest of the afternoon wandering, shopping, and bar hopping. That night, I joined some hostel friends on a bar crawl, catching one of Marco's shows before grabbing my sister and returning to the Spotted Cat for our final night. The next morning, we packed up and checked out. We stopped at Baldwin & Co., an independent Black-owned bookstore and cafe named after James Baldwin, which supports local impoverished communities through books and outreach programs. The bookstore also has a podcast studio in the back, where patrons can watch a live podcast. For lunch, we went to the Gazebo Cafe in the French Quarter. We arrived at the Amtrak station early for our 2 p.m. train. The ride back was crowded, but we found space in the observation car. We reached Memphis around 11 p.m. that night, and I slept on my sister's dorm couch. This is where I slept last night. It was awful. This blanket is super, super itchy, and I'm pretty sure that this couch has definitely been kicked on multiple times in its life, but that's fine, whatever. The next morning, we had breakfast at my sister's favorite Memphis spot, Cafe Eclectic, before parting ways.